In each of our lives, there are moments when financial clouds gather, when it seems the wallet is empty and there's no light at the end of the tunnel. In such periods, it's easy to fall into despair, to feel like a victim of circumstances, to lose faith in oneself and one's abilities. What if I told you that there is something capable of changing your inner state and consequently influencing your external reality, even when it comes to something as seemingly material as money, and that this something is encapsulated in just 2 words, inspired by the wisdom of a man who went through unimaginable trials and found meaning even in the grindstones of a concentration camp. Today, we turn to the legacy of Viktor Frankl, an outstanding Austrian psychiatrist, psychologist, philosopher, and creator of logotherapy, therapy through meaning. Frankl learned from his own experience that even in the most inhumane conditions, a person retains one last freedom: the freedom to choose one's attitude to what is happening. And it is precisely this freedom, this inner decision, that can become a catalyst for incredible changes. We will talk about 2 simple, yet incredibly powerful words that, if uttered with full awareness and inner conviction, can help you not just survive financial difficulties, but also discover new sources of strength, meaning, and perhaps even lead to what can be called financial miracles. This is not magic or esotericism in its pure form. This is profound psychology based on the indomitable power of the human spirit. Are you ready to learn these 2 words and understand how they work? Before we move directly to these 2 transformative words, let's recall a little about who Viktor Frankl was and why his teachings are so relevant today, especially when we talk about overcoming difficulties, including financial ones. Frankl was not just a theorist. He was a practitioner whose life became an embodiment of his ideas. Having survived the Holocaust, having lost his entire family, he did not break. On the contrary, it was in the hell of the concentration camps that he made his most profound discoveries about human nature, about its unquenchable thirst for meaning, and about its ability to find this meaning even in the most unbearable suffering. Logotherapy, the search for meaning as the primary driving force. Unlike Freud, who prioritized the pursuit of pleasure, and Adler, who emphasized the pursuit of power, Frankl asserted that the primary driving force in a person's life is their striving to find and realize the meaning of their life. When a person sees meaning, they can endure almost any how. Conversely, the absence of meaning, the existential vacuum, as Frankl called it, can lead to despair, depression, and apathy, even if life externally seems prosperous. Freedom to choose one's attitude. One of the key tenets of logotherapy is the idea that, despite any external circumstances, however severe they may be, a person always retains the last of human freedoms, the freedom to choose one's inner attitude towards these circumstances. We cannot always change the situation, for example, an economic crisis or sudden job loss, but we can always choose how to react to it, with despair and self-destruction, or with courage, responsibility, and the search for new opportunities. 3 paths to finding meaning. Frankl identified 3 main paths on which a person can find meaning. 1. Creation, work, through what we give to the world, our work, our creativity, our deeds. 2. Experiencing, love, experience, through what we take from the world, through experiencing values such as love, the beauty of nature, art, through deep human connections. 3. Attitude towards unavoidable suffering. Through the stance we take towards suffering that we cannot change. It is here that the highest degree of human freedom and dignity is manifested. Financial difficulties, undoubtedly, can be a source of serious stress and suffering. They can limit our opportunities, cause feelings of helplessness and fear of the future. But even in this situation, as Frankl taught, we are not passive victims. We have a choice, and this choice begins with our inner mindset, with the words we say to ourselves. So, what are these 2 words that, drawing on the wisdom of Viktor Frankl, can become your inner compass during financial difficulties and, perhaps, open the way to unexpected solutions. These words are not a spell or a magic formula. Their power lies in the meaning you invest in them and in the inner shift they are capable of producing. These two words are, I choose. Yes, it's that simple. But let's delve into the depth hidden behind this seemingly obvious phrase, especially in the context of Frankl's teachings and as applied to financial problems. I choose, an affirmation of your inner freedom. When we face a lack of money, our ego, our habitual reaction, is often a feeling of helplessness, a sense that we are cornered, that we have no choice. We might tell ourselves, I am forced to save. I have to give up everything. I have no other way out. These formulations lock us into a state of victimhood. By saying I choose, you radically change this mindset. You acknowledge that even in the most constrained circumstances, you still have room for choice. Example, instead of, I am forced to stay home because there's no money for entertainment, you can tell yourself, I choose now to focus on free ways of recreation and self-development, such as reading library books, walking in nature, spending time with loved ones. This is not a denial of the problem. It is a shift in focus from what you cannot control, e.g., the general economic situation, to what you can control, your attitude and your specific actions within the existing limitations. Frankl said, if we are not able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. I choose, acceptance of responsibility. This phrase is also a powerful act of accepting responsibility for your life, even for its difficult aspects. Instead of looking for external culprits, the government, the boss, fate, you turn your gaze inward and towards your capabilities. Example, instead of, because of the crisis, I lost my job and now I have no money, you can say, yes, the situation is difficult. I choose now to actively seek new opportunities, perhaps to retrain, consider other fields of activity, or even start my own small project. Frankl emphasized that freedom is inseparable from responsibility. When we realize our freedom to choose, we also accept responsibility for the consequences of that choice. This makes us not passive objects of circumstances, but active subjects of our own lives. I choose. Finding meaning in the current situation. Even in a state of no money, one can find meaning if one consciously seeks it. The phrase, I choose, helps direct your attention to this search. Example, instead of sinking into despondency from the inability to buy expensive things, you can say, I choose now to appreciate non-material joys, communication with family, creativity, helping others. I choose to use this period to reevaluate my true values and understand what is truly important for my happiness, besides money. Frankl, from his tragic experience, became convinced that meaning can be found in three areas. In creation, in experiencing values, love, beauty, and in one's attitude towards suffering. Financial difficulties are a form of suffering, and you can choose your attitude towards it, despair or growth. I choose. Activation of your will to meaning. By uttering these words, you activate your will to meaning. That very profound need Frankl spoke of. You are, as it were, telling yourself and the world, even in these circumstances, my life has meaning, and I will find it. Example, I choose to view this financial challenge not as a punishment, but as an opportunity to learn something new, financial literacy, resourcefulness, resilience, the ability to appreciate what I have. Such an attitude not only changes your emotional state, but also opens your mind to finding constructive solutions that you might not have noticed while in a state of victimhood. It might seem, what can just 2 words change? But psychology teaches us that the language we use, especially towards ourselves, has a huge impact on our thinking, emotions, and behavior. Let's consider what psychological mechanisms the phrase, I choose, Triggers. Shifting the locus of control from external to internal. When we say I am forced, I have to, we place the locus of control, that is the source of control over our lives, externally. We feel like puppets. The phrase I choose brings the locus of control inward. You become the captain of your ship, even if it's stormy. This gives a sense of power and agency, which is critically important for overcoming difficulties. Changing the cognitive appraisal of the situation, reframing. These words help to rethink the situation. Instead of seeing only limitations and losses, you begin to look for opportunities and areas of your influence. This is a classic example of cognitive reframing, changing the frame of perception of a problem. Financial difficulties transform from a dead end into a challenge or a lesson. Activating proactive behavior. When you feel you have choice and responsibility, you are more likely to take active, constructive steps to change the situation instead of passively waiting for everything to sort itself out or for someone to come to your aid. You start seeking information, learning, communicating, trying new things. Increasing stress resilience. The feeling of control over one's reaction, even if not over the situation itself, significantly increases our ability to cope with stress. Viktor Frankl himself was a living example of incredible resilience, based on the search for meaning and inner freedom. Creating a positive feedback loop. When you start acting from a position of choice and responsibility, you are likely to start getting different results. Even small successes achieved through your choice strengthen self-belief and motivate further steps. This creates a positive spiral leading to an improvement in the situation. Influencing unconscious attitudes. Regular repetition and, most importantly, living the meaning of the phrase, I choose, can gradually change your deep-seated unconscious attitudes about yourself, money, and life in general. If you previously unconsciously considered yourself a failure or a victim, the new position of active choice can help form a healthier and more resourceful self-identification. It is important to understand that the power of these words is not in their magical sound, but in the inner work they trigger. This is not a way to deceive the universe or attract money out of nowhere. It is a way to change yourself, your attitude, your perception, and through these internal changes, to influence your reality. How, specifically, can you apply these two words in everyday life when you face a shortage of money? 1. Recognize the moment of choice. Every time you catch yourself thinking thoughts of hopelessness, using words like I can't, I'm forced, stop. Take a deep breath and consciously tell yourself, and what can I choose in this situation? Even if the choice seems very small, it exists. Rephrase your thoughts and statements. Instead of, I don't have money for good food, say, I choose now to cook delicious and healthy food from available products. I choose to be resourceful and find new recipes. Instead of, I can't afford the training I need, say, I choose now to find free or inexpensive resources for learning, online courses, books, webinars. I choose to invest my time in self-education. Instead of, I feel so bad that I can't buy my children everything they want, say, I choose now to give my children my time, attention, love, and create joyful moments for them that don't require large expenses. I choose to teach them to value non-material things. Focus on what you can do. Financial problems often seem huge and overwhelming. Break them down into small, manageable tasks, and for each task, ask yourself, what first step do I choose to take? Example: if you have debts, instead of panicking, I choose today to make a list of all my debts. I choose tomorrow to explore options for restructuring or finding additional income. Choose your emotional state as much as possible. Of course, it's hard to be happy when there's no money, but but you can choose not to sink completely into despair. Example: I choose today, despite the difficulties, to find at least one reason for gratitude. I choose to dedicate 15 minutes to an activity that brings me peace: meditation, hobby, walk. Frankl emphasized that even in suffering, meaning can be found if we choose a dignified attitude towards it. Choose to learn from experience. Any crisis is an opportunity for growth. Example: I choose to view this period not as a failure, but as a valuable lesson. I choose to analyze my financial mistakes and learn to manage money better in the future. 6. I choose to act despite fear. Fear is a natural reaction to uncertainty, but it should not paralyze you. Example: I choose to acknowledge my fear, but not let it control me. I choose to take at least one small action today aimed at improving my financial situation, even if I'm scared. Remember that every time you consciously utter and, most importantly, live these two words, I choose, you strengthen your inner power, your ability to influence your life and find meaning even in the most difficult circumstances. The financial miracles we are talking about are not the sudden appearance of money out of nowhere at the wave of a magic wand. Rather, they are those unexpected positive changes in your financial and not only life that become possible thanks to your changed inner state, your new attitude, and your proactive actions, triggered by the phrase, I choose. Miracle number 1. Discovering new, previously unseen opportunities. When you are in a state of victimhood and despair, your perception narrows. You see only problems and limitations. When you switch to the I choose mode, your mind becomes more open, creative, receptive. You start noticing opportunities that you simply didn't see before. A new job vacancy, an idea for a side hustle, a useful acquaintance, an opportunity to receive help or support. This is not magic. It's a result of changing your focus of attention. Miracle number 2, the appearance of unexpected help and support. When you radiate not despair but inner strength, responsibility, and readiness to act, you become more attractive to other people. They may be more willing to offer you help, advice, or collaboration. This doesn't mean you should hide your difficulties, but your active, meaningful position commands respect and a desire to support. Miracle number 3, improvement of your skills and growth of competencies. By choosing to learn, to seek new paths, you inevitably develop as a person and as a professional. This can lead to an increase in your value in the labor market, to new career opportunities, or to the successful launch of your own business. This miracle is the result of your own efforts, initiated by your choice. Miracle number 4, a change in your attitude towards money and material values. Perhaps the most important miracle is not so much an increase in the amount of money, but a change in your attitude towards it. Having lived through, experienced a period of financial difficulties with dignity and meaningfulness, you may discover that your happiness and sense of fulfillment in life depend much less on material wealth than you previously thought. You begin to value other non-material things. This does not mean that money is not important, but it ceases to be the sole measure of success and happiness. This is a huge inner liberation. Miracle number 5, gaining deep faith in yourself and your abilities. By overcoming difficulties, relying on your inner freedom and ability to choose, you gain invaluable experience. The experience of your own strength and resilience. This self-belief becomes your unshakable capital, which will help you cope with any future challenges, not only financial ones. Miracle number 6, unexpected synchronicities in the Jungian sense. Although Frankl spoke of meaning, not synchronicity, like Jung, when you live in accordance with your deepest choice and meaning, you may begin to notice surprising coincidences and signs that seem to confirm the correctness of your path and help you. The right information comes at the right moment you meet the right people. This can be called a miracle of attunement with life. Thus, financial miracles are not a passive waiting for gifts from heaven, but an active co-creation of your reality by changing your inner world, your attitudes, and your actions. Viktor Frankl showed us that even in the most desperate situations, we have a power capable of creating such miracles. This is the power of our spirit, our freedom of choice, and our will to meaning. Of course, simply saying, "I choose," is only the beginning. On this path, you may encounter internal resistance and certain psychological traps. Resistance from the inner victim. If you have lived for a long time with the feeling of being a victim of circumstances, this part of your personality may resist the new attitude. It might whisper, "This is all nonsense. Nothing will change. It's easy to talk when you have money. It's all useless anyway." What to do? Acknowledge this part of yourself. Do not judge it. Thank it for possibly protecting you at some point. And gently, but persistently, continue to practice "I choose," starting with small steps. Fear of responsibility. As we've already said, freedom of choice is inextricably linked with responsibility. This can frighten some people. It's easier to blame others than to take responsibility for oneself. What to do? Start small. Take responsibility for those areas of life where it seems manageable to you. Gradually expand this zone. Remember, that responsibility is not a burden, but a strength. Impatience and expectation of quick results. Changing deep-seated attitudes and life situations takes time. If you expect a bag of money to fall on you after a few repetitions of "I choose," you will most likely be disappointed. What to do? Focus on the process, not just the result. Appreciate every small step, every change in your inner state. Be patient with yourself. Self-sabotage. Sometimes when things start to improve, we may unconsciously begin to sabotage our successes because the new, more prosperous reality seems unfamiliar or undeserved. What to do? Develop awareness. Notice your patterns of self-sabotage. Work on your self-esteem and giving yourself permission to be successful and happy. Denial of real difficulties. It's important not to go to the other extreme, denying real problems and difficulties. "I choose" is not a way to close your eyes to reality, but a way to find your strength and opportunities for action within it. What to do? Acknowledge the existence of problems, but do not let them paralyze you. Combine a realistic view of things with optimism and a proactive stance. Remember that this is a path, and there may be ups and downs. The main thing is not to give up and to continue consciously choosing your attitude and your actions. We have examined how two simple words, "I choose," inspired by the profound wisdom of Viktor Frankl, can become your powerful tool in overcoming financial and other difficulties. This is not a magic pill, but rather a key that opens the door to your own inner strength, to your freedom of choice, and to your ability to find meaning even in the most complex life circumstances. When you consciously and consistently apply this principle, you cease to be a passive victim of external forces and become an active creator of your life. You shift your focus from what you don't have to what you do have and what you can do. You open yourself to new opportunities, to unexpected help, to personal growth. And it is these changes, occurring first within you and then reflected in the external world, that can be called true financial miracles. Miracles of the human spirit, capable of transforming suffering into achievement and hopelessness into meaningful existence. Viktor Frankl, by his example, showed that even when deprived of everything, a person can remain free and find meaning. Financial difficulties, however severe they may be, cannot take away this last, but most important freedom, the freedom to choose your attitude, your thoughts, your actions. Start practicing these two words, "I choose," today. Say them with awareness, with faith in yourself, with a willingness to take responsibility for your life, and observe how gradually, step by step, your reality begins to change. Perhaps not as quickly as you would like, perhaps not always as you expected, but it will change because you will change. And that, perhaps, is the most important miracle of all. Thank you for being with us on this journey to meaning and inner freedom. If this video was useful for you, if it touched something important in your soul, please give it a like, share it with those whom it might help, and subscribe to our channel. We will continue to explore profound ideas capable of changing our lives for the better. And now I want to ask you, in what area of your life, besides finances, could you apply the power of these two words? I choose. Today. What small but conscious choices are you ready to make to feel like a freer and more meaningful person? Share your thoughts in the comments. Remember, your strength lies in your choice, and it is always with you. Until next time.